The best way I can describe it sometimes is like thunder and lightning, but being in it, in this big thundercloud, because suddenly it's just a massive bang, dust everywhere, and the whole world was blocked out and I couldn't see or hear anything. It's a very strange feeling, but I could feel myself being dragged into the ground beneath me, and I could just kind of feel myself fading. And that's a moment where I was like, I'm about to die here, and I can't die. Not here, not like this. Yes, I was born in a place called Pretoria. My mum ended up meeting an Englishman over there, and at the age of sort of 15, well, they decided to move across to England. So Tom was the first lad brave enough to come and knock on my door to go and meet this South African boy who's just turned up at school. You know, we became best mates, and he was army mad, so he introduced me to that kind of concept of the military. He was on R&R, this is 2009, and he was about to go back. And I remember one of the last things he told me was, obviously how much he appreciated our friendship, but also should anything happen to him, could I make sure that his fiancée and children are okay? At the time you just think, oh, don't be silly man, you're going to be coming back. And then it wasn't long after that, I had a message from him on Facebook where he just said, he'll be back before I know it. Obviously you can't give any dates or anything like that, so I was really thinking, okay, well, any moment now, he'll be back. And then his brother phoned and he basically said, I'm sorry to tell you, but Tom's died. And I didn't believe it. I was thinking, no, you're joking, man. So I put him on the phone thinking maybe he's come home early. I was like, no, get him on the phone. I'm not having this. He's like, no, honestly, he's died. And the way he said it that time, and then he started crying. I couldn't speak, to be honest. It's a really difficult thing to describe, actually. Yeah, but it's very, very tough. To be honest, I didn't really have much time to reflect on it. Then it was just about, right, well, let's go and do the business. We've got to go out, we've got a job to do. So the 22nd of October 2009, it started off pretty well. We did a few patrols. We were searching for bomb-making facilities, weapons caches, obviously Taliban. It was almost a bit eerily kind of quiet. I had a sense that something wasn't quite right. I walked to my position, and that was it. And I was thrown in the air and I hit the ground, and it was just the noise. I did have severe pain like ripping through my body, and that was a moment where the reality completely kicked in about like the mortality of the situation, and thinking actually might not be okay with this. And then there was a load of blood rushing out, and I was in a crater and it was just filling the crater that I was in. And that's the moment I had like a strange sensation going through my body, in particular my legs. As I looked down, I just saw that there's just a bit of bone sticking out on this side. My leg was completely blown away, mid-thigh level. And on my right leg, everything below the knee was gone. And that was the moment I realised it was me. Sort of did a body check and noticed that, I had an open fracture this side, I had various other open wounds, and my hands were all mangled. But at that point, it was that whole devastation, my career, there goes my career, there goes everything. And my whole life, as I knew it, is gone. We managed to get back to the forward operating base. I think it took about 34 minutes, I was told. And then we had to wait for the MERT to get there, so that's how quick it was. So the guys were just on it. I needed to get to that field hospital in a fob in order to get more blood, because I was losing volumes. I think it took 45 units of blood to keep me going, from point of injury to being in the hospital. So I think our body only holds 8. I was in intensive care on 100% life support at the very beginning. On top of that, I contracted pneumonia and swine flu at the same time. It was a bit touch and go, but then after that, I was only in hospital for about a month, which at the time was, people couldn't believe it, but Headley Court was sort of 4.5 years of recovery. It was the moments where I went home where the whole incident then caught up with me. Second in command of a group of 12 soldiers, and now all of a sudden I can't even make a cup of tea. And then it's like, what does the future hold? What am I going to do for a living? How am I going to be a husband? It's like everything changed. Unfortunately at the time, being a typical squaddie, I thought I could just handle it on my own, and I couldn't. It did become too much. I started becoming quite miserable, and yeah, it got to breaking point. I was having to really find reasons to carry on. That was the hardest moment, really. people would kind of tell me what I needed to hear, basically. I need to get support. When I was making stupid decisions, my friends would tell me. And then when I got to that real low moment, those three things, their voices, the sort of faith in the back of my mind and my children those were the things that really made me think, actually, there has to be another option. And that's when I then reached out for help. Also having a purpose again, just kind of brainstorming ideas of things that I can do and what I'd like to do, and then just doing one of those things at a time. I knew Martin Hewitt, who started the Adaptive Grand Slam through supporting wounded veterans, and then I had the idea to cycle the route called the Tour Divide, which is the 2,750-mile off-road route from Banff, Canada to the Mexican border via the Rocky Mountains. I went skiing with Martin, and I was just sort of speaking to him about the challenge that I'm sort of thinking about, and that's when he was saying, well, actually, the Adaptive Grand Slam can get involved with this. Hopefully, it will teach people that actually your disabilities don't define who you are. There's still means and ways that you can achieve things, providing you've got the right equipment, the right team, and obviously the willpower to do something. I'm a firm believer that my role is to help other people, and I can help so many more people now than what I could have done as an active soldier. And I can help people not only just by raising money, but hopefully people can learn something from seeing what I do. Military charities are vital to the veteran community, especially now that war isn't at the forefront of people's minds. The battles are still carrying on. Those who have got injuries from war, whether it's mental health injuries or whether it's physical injuries, that still carries on, that never stops. A lot of charities are struggling, and when you have a charity such as the Veterans Foundation that will reach out and actually help those charities, it is absolutely crucial. And also it's extremely impressive to know how much they've actually donated and helped other charities. I would say, well, first and foremost, thank you very much for playing the Veterans Lottery. It forms a crucial part in supporting all the other charities, and people like myself. There are so many of us. There's the families, the children, everybody else who get affected by what we've gone through and still get affected, and it really does make a difference. If you want to help British veterans, and not just us, families too, who are also affected by what we've gone through, please play the Veterans Lottery.